Hi, and welcome back to the Foreground Podcast. My name is Moaga, and I'm joined with the amazing, the wonderful. I was actually going to say the beautiful because he is Peter Lee.
Nah, thanks for having me again today, Ray. I know you always ask for someone else to come on, but I'm back. Thanks, team.
We have been truly grateful for everyone's support in the last few episodes, in the last few weeks. And that's probably one of the things I want to start with Pete. I'm truly grateful for the audience. I'm also grateful for the feedback we've been getting. Amazing feedback. Everyone's like, we love listening to you both. I don't know, it's because we've persuaded you because you're our only listeners as friends. But I'm truly grateful for that feedback. And also feedback such as, hey, this is what we can do better in terms of the people we're interviewing, or it may be just the flow of the podcast. Peter and I are rookies at this. So that's probably one thing that I'm grateful for is the feedback of our community. What's something that you're grateful for, Pete? Throw it to you.
Grateful for the opportunity, not just to be in your presence, but also I guess who we will introduce very soon. But yeah, grateful for a new start. Last week was pretty heavy. A lot of things happened. But yeah, weekend was just all family felt, a lot of love, a lot of joy with my own boys, my kids. And yeah, my cup is full and I'm ready to pour it out for others. So
Absolutely.
I'm grateful today.
And your cup is definitely full. You have two wonderful beverages. Three. We got going now.
1, 2, 3. Yep.
Shout out to
Lumbr
Café, Spine Street, Sumner. Please, if you're in the area, you have to check out this place. And again, we're so grateful for their sponsorship, as well as Alani Networks Media. See, it's not a tongue twister. We've had a lot of practice.
Yep.
You'd think after a few episodes,
that was one of the feedbacks was like, get your guys' networks right. And your people
we were switching the names back and forth. And so, again, we're truly grateful for the sponsors. We're truly grateful for you as our listeners. This is episode, I'm trying to think now. We've done 5. I'm looking at Carlin. Would that be right? We got the nod of approval from our producer. 5 episodes deep. And I feel like we're getting better at this.
We are.
By the minute, by the episode. I'll say by the episode. That's a bit more generous.
Yeah, I think the biggest learning that I've had it's actually to learn how to talk to people and actually how to stay on track is one part, but actually talk about what our actual topics are because we like to go on tangents, which is always part of the journey. But you want to talk about the 4 C's?
Yeah, the 4 C's. So on this podcast, we will often and always explore our 4 C's, which are, we don't have a specific order. Corporate.
Boom. Community.
Culture.
And connection.
Yeah, ready?
Yo,
there you go. That's the seal of approval right there. So in those 4 C's, we love to explore questions with our guests in that area, but also talk about leadership development. We've spoken about strategic management. We've spoken about sport.
A bit of framework, governance, how you actually stay on top of your high-performing teams, how you individually actually develop yourself professionally. Ooh, there we go. That was a bar. No, I'm going to press.
He just wants to be on an Instagram reel. That's why.
Hashtag 99 if you know.
If you know. And so today I'm excited, as well as Peter, to introduce to you our guest today. Our guest today is Steph Karvelis. I have known Steph probably just under 3 years or so, probably less than that. But I've worked with Steph at Netball Queensland Firebirds. But she is someone that I highly respect, as someone who is able to hold space and capacity for people in her leadership role. She has managed and looked after many portfolios in sport, including rugby union, netball.
Shout out Sunnybank Rugby Union. Let's go.
There you go. And I'm sure there's other things she manages, like her family. There you go. That's a massive one. Yeah. And so we're excited to talk to Steph today about those things, about leadership, about management, but just about how do you go on with life and how do you deal with the challenges that you're faced with day to day? And what are some learnings that we can get from that? Because we want to add value to your space for our listeners and viewers in terms of, hey, you want to walk away with something today, and our guest is going to be able to share and unpack that. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Steph. Welcome.
Thank you. That's so kind.
Yeah, that's good.
Such kind words. Oh. I feel under pressure now.
Yeah, you can feel it now.
I have to say something smart.
Yeah. I'm racking my brain already.
Yeah. Speaking of kind, again, and I don't often, when people ask me, Ray, how do you come up with these questions? I just listen. So one question that I have for you right now, because you said kind, who has been kind to you recently?
Oh my gosh. So probably the best example, I had to get my car serviced the other week, but I also had to be at a school assembly for 9 a.m. on a Friday morning because my daughter was receiving an award.
Congrats.
Great. Thank you. It was my 4th assembly in 2 weeks, so it was a lot.
Wow.
But yeah.
Lots of awards.
And I thought that I'd manage my time really well. I was like, I'm going to drop the kids, I'll take the car, I'll get an Uber, I'll get back to school, I'll nail it. It took ages to take the car in, and like 5 to 9, I was like stressing. I was like, I'm not going to get there in time. What's happening? And I've walked out the front. My Uber's 15 minutes away. I'm going to miss the start of school assembly. And this guy was standing there, and I don't know why, I was just maybe a bit brazen, but I walked up and I was like, are you waiting on an Uber? He was like, I am. I'm like, here's one for you. How far away is it? He's like, it's going to be here in 3 minutes. I'm like, where are you going? Chanced my arm. He's like, oh, I'm going out near the Gap. I was like, listen, I need to get to this school assembly. Can you add a journey on for me? He was like, yeah, no worries. Adds on this journey so that I can get to school assembly, make it in time, wouldn't let me transfer any money for the ride. He was just like, no, it's great. Turns out, as I was chatting away to him, it's his 30th birthday. And I was like, this is the ultimate kindness. Like, this guy does not know me from Adam. I'm literally scrambling to get to my kids' assembly. And he was like, I can absolutely help you out. And I just thought that has restored my faith in society, that act of kindness. But that for me was really kind and just so like, oh, I've made it. And I just, that blew me away.
That is a cool way to start it. I love
What a
it.
way to start that. Yeah, I was like,
right, guys, are you ready for this?
yeah, I'm ready. I was like,
oh my days. So again, I really am intrigued because you have always struck me as someone who is kind with your words. And I've known that of you, even in our capacity working at netball, which we'll talk about a bit later. But where does that come from for you? Like, how you be kind with your words? Is it something you grew up with? Is it something you've learned? Is it, how is that? Because and I genuinely mean it, because you are very kind with your words.
Thank you. I think it's a bit of both. I think I was shown a lot of kindness when I was growing up. I had like a really great group of folk who were around me who were kind with their words. And so I was shown that example, but I have also learnt. Obviously, when you're a teenager and you're a young adult and your tongue might be sharp, you get humbled quite a lot, and then you learn as you go, right? And actually, now where I am in my life, I realize the value of just how simple and effective and impactful your words can be, rightly or wrongly, at any moment. And so there's no need to make something harder than it has to be. And it's so easy to be kind.
Yeah.
So easy to be kind.
But yet we can often forget to be kind, right? In the pace of life that we often operate, we want to be very efficient with our time. And sometimes being intentional with the kind words can actually fall away and go, I just want to be quicker at it.
One of the big ones is, like, we talk about this low context, high context. So low context meaning transactional, high context meaning very relational. I think when I think of Steph and her approach, because I've been real blessed, privy now to just almost a year now. Working under Steph. So she's the big boss for us, especially So I call it Big Boss Steph now. I don't know, dude. But one of the things I have noticed and been awesome to work alongside Steph is that relational part. It's not just, don't get me wrong, it does get transactional if it has to, but we can make it very, it only has to be if we have to go there, but she is always about relational. And I think last podcast we spoke about being transparent. That's Steph. Transparency is key, and that's something I've learned and taken on board with stuff that I've done in my own organizations.
Yeah, so I think it's so important to be transparent, because actually if you don't have that connection and that authenticity when you're building relationships, you're not going to get very far. No. And actually you're putting in a lot of effort for not very much out of it. And for me, that's just how I operate. And now that you say that, I'm always saying to my kids as well, I'm like, is that kind? Could you be kinder to your brother? Stop hitting him. Well, your words, can you be kind? And they're probably like, oh, here she goes again.
Yeah. But just that transition in itself, I think from that home concept or value of being kind with your words to each other, in corporate space, obviously you're GM at Sunnybank Rugby. Like, how do you, I don't want to ask, how do you stay on top of being kind, but how do you go about your day when there's pressures and deadlines and budgets and trying to manage people and still hold that space of, hey, how do I ensure that my words land in a way that someone will receive it and not, destroy their overall,
I think it's important to recognize I don't get it right all the time. Still learning. And sometimes maybe I'm like, oh gosh, I could have done that a different way. I could have said it a different way. I spend a lot of time considering how the other person will feel if there is a difficult message to deliver. And so thinking about what that looks like and also what is the outcome. Because actually in the heat of the moment, anyone can get caught in that emotive response and can just like let their tongue go. And then you go, oh no, what have I done? But thinking about what do we actually need out of this situation? What's going to benefit everyone, and is it worth it? Is this the battle to fight, or actually is it right to raise the feedback and just make them aware of it? Because maybe they just don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. But having someone, and I was really grateful. There was a few folk along my journey who pulled me aside and went, "Do you realise?" And I went, "Oh, no, I did not realise, and I appreciate that." And if you don't get given that opportunity, you can't correct it. So when I'm interacting and communicating with folk, I'm just always with the end goal in mind. Like, what are we trying to do here? How is this going to make that better for the person and also better for me? Because no one likes an awkward, awful interaction. It just leaves that real sour taste in anyone's mouth. And you don't want that dragging through the rest of your day.
That sounds like a cool framework. And you probably don't even know that
it
is a framework.
I don't know. Is it something that I do?
Peter's our framework guy.
Yeah.
You need a framework this up.
On that, please.
What does that sound like to you, Peter?
Newman Cowport, the guy that organizes things.
Circa 2005.
Yeah, 2005. Let me look into this. I was just like,
Is it the same for you? Like when you have interactions in your own organization, are you also just as considerate and mindful, like what Steph is explaining? Like, you always have the end goal in mind when you're communicating with people. Like, how have you gone about? Is it a similar process for you as well?
Yeah, I was taught by one of these guys. His name's Troy Knox. How to have these conversations and how to actually get your point across, but without being a know-it-all or because you kind of like I've had a lot of those. I've been really lucky as well. People that have actually pulled me up. You could have done this better. And it hurts. You really do get like, oh man. I was like, especially when it's like constructive, but you're like, yeah, I thought that. You never that, but I've come to custom now that it's the norm. If you want to improve as a professional, you have to take on that feedback, and but the things you got to put into action. So having those tough conversations, having difficult conversations, and as you said, it's like, you don't want to make him feel bad. So I think there's a way. So I used to get called, like, that saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Or I think it's both. It's what you say and how you say it. I think they're both equal rights in conversation, especially when you're working up in corporate world. Because again, I think we spoke about it in the first, like our pilot was like, everyone's got their own agenda. It's just trying to find alignment and be all right. So for me now, having these conversations with the end goal and like as my focus or the direction I want to go is, if it's not aligning, it's all good to walk away from it and say, you know what? And I've been very transparent now with a lot of conversations I have. It's like, if it's not aligning with me, and I'm sure you're the same as well, Steph, it's like, if it doesn't align, maybe it's not the right fit, maybe for both parties, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just business. And that's when you can have that transaction. But I'm still good mates with you. I still want to be best mates with you. It's just that right now I think where our businesses are.
And that takes a lot too, to be able to recognize you can't put a square peg in a round hole sometimes. And to be able to say, you know what, this isn't for now, or this isn't going to work because of X, Y, and Z, and just it comes back to that transparency. And I think the credibility and the respect that you gain from that, because people go, oh, they're not just in it to get quick wins, or they're doing it for the right reasons. And a part of that's like, people sometimes don't remember what you said, but they always remember how you've made them feel. And if you can give them that message in a way that makes them feel like, oh yeah, I've got work to do, but thank you, and I'm appreciative of that, then I think that's really powerful too, to be able to develop everyone at the same time.
Again, being kind. Being kind in your approach. By the way, we're not going to continue with you. You run.
Now run.
Now run. Nah. But no, there's a lot of, I think a lot of lot of weight behind the way you approach things. Again, you've got to be strategic. Like now I used to be very careless. I had this conversation with me like 6 years ago.
You just straight down.
100%.
Yeah,
but that's what like lived experience gives you, right? Like 10 years ago, Steph wouldn't have done what she does now. No chance. She made a lot more errors and a lot more mistakes. And I fully still make mistakes, and that's how you learn. But 10 years ago, it was a different conversation. And I think where I fall down the most is probably having those conversations with my kids.
Yeah.
Really humbles you, right?
Yeah. Help us now.
I saw a thing on like this famous musician was having a conversation with like the daughter, or the daughter was trying to play something, and then he went to go help, and the daughter's like, I don't need your help, what do you know? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm not even a part, because she doesn't know that dad is a famous musician.
World famous musician.
But I'm glad you confide in your children. I'm not the only one. So
I think we can all agree to that, because what I'm hearing both you say is it's actually not what you say, but how you say it. So my question, Steph, in the corporate space is, how do you have hard conversations? Like, you manage so many people, so many different agendas, as Pete says, and not just we're not just specific to Sunnybank in case someone gets mentioned or a scenario. It's like, she's talking about me. Like, you've worked with Scotland, you've worked with Queensland Firebirds and Netball Queensland. Were there any other organisations that you worked? Like, I'm sure.
A very competitive swimmer. That would have been tough. So shout out that as well. Yeah. we'll enter that.
So
soon.
So in your experience, like, I guess you both mentioned bits and pieces like alignment and being transparent and being kind. Like, is there a formula for you that how do I have a hard conversation with someone?
Hard conversations are hard. Like, there's no shying away from it. That's why people don't want to have them. And they never get any easier. They're still really difficult to have. I think what I have learnt, and probably only in the last 5 years, is don't dilly-dally around what you're trying to say. So it's almost just come out with it and say, right, this is the situation and this is what's happening. And I want to be really clear and direct so folk can't misinterpret what you're trying to say, because sometimes that makes it even harder again, because then you're skirting around it and you're like, that's not what I meant. So if you just come out respectfully and say, here we are, this is what's happened, or this is what's going to happen, and this is where we're trying to get to, and these are the reasons why, then there's no dubiety. And I think if you can remove that straight off the bat, then you can get into this is what comes next. And I think I've done it probably both ways. And 10 years ago, Steph would have dilly-dallied and really avoided having the actual directness of the conversation. But now, firstly, I don't really have the time to not do that. But also, I want to do the right thing by the person on the other end. I don't want them sitting there going, I don't know what you meant. I don't know what that means for me, because that's even worse, because you've left someone with a bit of worry and a bit of anxiety unintentionally. Because you just can't have that difficult conversation. So they're hard conversations for a reason. Yeah. They're never going to be, if they were easy conversations, it wouldn't happen, right? So, but that's where growth comes from. And I think from my experience, I have those conversations because I'm serving the club or I'm serving the organisation. It's not my personal agenda. I'm doing it in line with the strategy. I'm doing it in line with what needs to be done for the betterment of the organisation that I'm serving at that time.
Yeah. Bars.
Did I get all the words in there? Okay, great.
I was like this. It's a lyrical, like, it's a mastery right there.
I really love what you said. It's about service, and that's a huge part of, I guess, an organisation, or the ideal of an organisation is to serve the organisation. Sometimes people get on their hobby horse and go, "This is my organisation," because you could easily do that. I'm GM. Therefore, I will establish my throne, and what I say goes. But it's actually, you've painted a really beautiful picture there in terms of, I'm here to serve the constituents. I'm here to serve the community. I'm here to serve the stakeholders and everyone else. You just occupy that seat for the time being, for a season. What do you think about that in terms of, like, the seat that you occupy? Is it like when I'm asked, what I'm really asking is, like, how does that look like for, like, a legacy piece? Like, how long do you give yourself a time frame, or how long you've been in an organization? Do you feel it out, or do you like, hey, I'm going to give it 5 years and then I'll palm it off? Like,
that's a great question. And I think it's interesting because I think a lot of folk go, oh, this is my 5-year plan and this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to, and then my next thing is this, this and this. I love a challenge. And I remember I had an ex-boyfriend years and years ago and he said, you'll never be happy no matter what job you do. And at the time I was affronted. I was like, that's really callous and rude and, I don't know how I feel about that. And it stuck with me and it sat with me and I thought, no, you're right. I'm never going to be happy in any job that I do because I'm always going to want to push to do more. I really value the challenge. I really value making a difference and leaving an impact and I think legacy, if that's what you want to call it. But like any team, you leave the jersey in a better place than when you found it, right? You want to contribute and you want to make sure that what you're doing is making it better for the folk to come. So I don't like to think about things in specific time frames. For me, it's more like, how do I make sure I'm maximizing my time to give the best that I can to that organization? No one's there forever. No one's going to be in an organization forever. But how do you make sure that as and when it's your time to move on, the person coming through or the next cohort of folk coming through, have the systems and the tools to be able to do their job well, so you're setting them up for success, but also knowing that you've left a little bit of an impact, I think is really important for me. And that can look really small. It can look really big. Like, I'm very privileged to work in sport, so the tangible is very different to someone that works in a very corporate space. It's not about stock share prices, etc. It's about that connection piece and building that community and making sure folk have that place to go to. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but for me, there's no real time frame. It's just when do you feel like you've done what you can to make sure that the next folk coming through can then build on that again? Yeah, because it's never finished. Yeah. It's never finished.
No, not at all. I love what you said, connection. Like, you're big on connection.
Oh, I love connection.
Tell us more. I'm really intrigued in your mindset or your philosophy or values about connection, because that's what, when people say general manager, it's like, no, you're a connection person.
And I literally wrote this in a paper the other week that I had to turn in. I think it was for a board report. I'm not sure. But I was like, we work in rugby. Rugby is about connection. Like, you take the game away from it, you can go anywhere in the world and folk can connect through rugby, which is such a beautiful part of the game. But people at any age and stage, any ability, can connect through sport. And so for me, I love that. I love that we bring folk together, whatever code it is, we bring folk together with a common interest. Everyone has a laugh. We don't laugh enough. You don't take yourself too seriously. You can just decompress a little bit, get out, whether the weather's good or whether it's not so good, but you're out getting a bit of fresh air, connecting with folk and having a conversation. And I think that's so important and something that we really need to continue to hold on to, because if we don't, then gosh, I don't know what that looks like, but I really want that for all the kids coming through too. Like, it's so powerful and we don't give it the credit it deserves, in my opinion.
Why do you think we don't give that the credit it deserves? What is it about that value that it's like people don't recognize? Is it they oversee it? They don't think it adds value?
I think maybe because it's not instant gratification like everything else in the world, right? Yes. I'm not very informed on this. This is just my opinion. But everything else is instant. You're on your phone, it's instant. You're on Instagram, you just keep scrolling, it's instant. Like, everyone wants the quick win, the quick result. But actually, when you're building community, then that takes time. And that forming those relationships takes time, and it's genuine and it's authentic, and it's not everyone's going to be a cup of tea, and that's all right, but everyone's coming together. And so that's for me, the beauty of it, that community and connection piece, and how sport plays into it too, because that's what stands the test of time. And then you've got folk that return to a club or return to a code, or when they move abroad, they go and find a club because that's what that gives them, that, all right, I've got my people. And that's really powerful. Like, for me, that's the most important thing in life, right?
You gotta have that diversity. I know we talk about inclusion, but that diversity of people bringing different things into a community as well, and then actually being like, that's your belonging as well, like inclusive, and then your belonging. Like, I know I can call up someone if I needed my car fixed, like before I go out to like anywhere. Yeah. I'm just gonna call up someone. I know someone that knows someone from the rugby club, you know, or if I need a lawyer, thank goodness I don't. But if I needed one, I know exactly who I'd call, like someone from the board or from the community. They'll know someone. I think the beauty about what you're saying is that connection, is actually what builds the community even more. Like I think for us, like even for our own rugby community, and I'm just talking from my own personal view, is that we lost that a little bit, but it's coming back real strong. And I think that connection piece is actually, but doing it properly. Like don't get me wrong, you got to have differences, you know, because people want to be challenged. If you have the same person in the same organization or the same people in any organization, even ours, I actually hire people just to challenge myself. I'm like, I like the way you think. Yeah, you know, I have those people in our organizations that are like, yep, and they like, you know, it's confronting for me. You would never know who you are if you listen to this, but yeah. But
speaking in code.
Speaking of code, but you know, you partner up with people, or you get people into like, you know, leadership roles because they actually push you to be a better leader. And I think that's some people are very scared. I feel like if you're not having those type of people around you to actually, you know, have their own perspective or opinions, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think?
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
And I think not many people are brave enough to do that. It's really easy to sit back and just almost coast a little bit and be a bit complacent, because actually if folk aren't challenging you and you're like, right, I can just carry on and do what I'm doing. But to actively call out and go, I need folk in my space that are going to challenge me in the right way so that I can continue to grow, that's so powerful. That's really powerful, and a lot of folk don't do it. So well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, but it's even. Thanks. I feel. Don't get me wrong. It's actually
it's
quite
hard.
Yeah,
It is hard.
It's people are like think I'm crazy. Even the way that we do stuff, like it's relational, but we get results. I think obvious for like SC, like I jumped on Rex's team because I knew that he was going to challenge me as a strength and conditioning coach, going to make me accountable, going to make me a lot of things, because he was my captain. And if he was going to be like the type of head coach that he was as a captain to me, bro, he's a tough person, like very tough, but also very fair and very compassionate as well. I've seen us two sides with Rex. Call out to massive shout out to Rex, by the way. Congratulations on the new Prem coach for next year for Sunnybank. Yeah, nice. Yeah, sweet. Awesome. But you know, and I'm excited for him in that space. But when he was for Colts this year, or even the past last year, as much as I wanted to be in the Colts space, but Rex was a real key part of me joining that team, because I knew exactly that he was going to challenge me. And there's actually some of the things I've learned from him as a leader, I'm like implementing to my own stuff. So I think what we do as leaders, we don't continue to grow and lead. And I know that Steph mentioned, but she's gone into what's that course you did earlier this year?
The governance course.
The governance course, yeah. If you want to dive into
Tell us about
that.
that.
It was pretty exciting. When she told me, and I was like, you're going to be talking to who and what?
Yeah.
You were in New Zealand earlier this year. You know,
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have had those opportunities. I did the Oceania Rugby Women in Governance course through, very lucky to have done that. It was just like over the summertime, but obviously governance is something everyone can brush up on, and we really don't probably give governance it's not very glamorous thing. People go, oh, governance. It's actually very exciting.
Yeah, so I was like this. I was like, what do you mean?
Because if you get it right,
like,
if you get it right, it unlocks so much more. So just having that ability for like oversight and insight and foresight, right? So that you can go,
Say that again. Say that
one more
again.
time.
I stole this. This is not
no,
my
no,
words,
that's all right,
but it's so good.
We're quoting you.
Oversight, insight, and foresight.
Can you explain that?
So the way that they described it to me, so this was an Oceania course, rugby course. So there was a lot of Pacifica kind of metaphors, etc. through it, which I really loved and valued. And they explained it. You were sitting on your boat, and you're sitting up at the little. It's not a pulpit, but like at the top. I don't know what that's called. Anyway, you're sitting there. So basically, you're on the boat and you're sitting up high. So you've got oversight of what's happening on the boat when you're at sea. And then you've got insight because you can hear what's happening and what's being said below you, but you can look out to the horizon. So you have foresight of what's coming. And I thought, what a beautiful, simple way to explain governance, because it just means that you need to have a little bit of everything, but not all of it, so that you can make those strategic choices to set up whatever club or community organization or business or corporation and make sure that it's future-proofed. And then you can put the right roles and people in underneath it. And for me, I always come back to those three. I'm like, yep, okay, oversight, insight, foresight, what's coming? What does that look like?
What's looking like bars. Bars.
I can't reference the people that said this. I just know it was a really great course.
Well, it made an impact.
Really great course. And I was really fortunate to be on this course with a lot of other women in rugby throughout Australia and New Zealand and the Pacific Islands.
Awesome.
So we had a chance to connect, share our shared challenges, but also just go, hold the bus. We're not doing badly here. We're not doing badly. We're just very ambitious as a group. So we're always like, how can we get better? What's next? What's next? Rather than like taking stock of, we're actually going okay. Yeah. We're tracking all right. Yeah. We just need to trust the process.
Yeah. What do you learn in those environments, being like in an environment where it's about women, it's empowering women in sport, but just in those rooms, what do you come away from those conferences, and particularly that course, thinking, feeling about your own oversight, insight, and foresight? Like, what does it do for you?
For me, it's a bit of, oh gosh, we could be doing so much better. And then there's a reality check of, no, everyone's got different challenges at different times. We're all in the same sea, but on different boats. So we're going to get there at different times, and that's fine. I really value the opportunity to connect with folk, to hear maybe if they've got a similar challenge or they're working through something that you've been through as well, how they approach it, because different perspectives are always useful.
Yeah.
And without the bias. Right? So everyone's coming to the table genuinely wanting to be there, and everyone's genuinely wanting to learn and to get better and to develop, to take back. And we don't need to reinvent wheels. We just need to listen and go, oh, yep, I could do that. Or I could take a little bit from here and a little bit from there and see how that goes. So for me, when I go to those types of things, it's very different from going to an event where it's predominantly males versus predominantly females. And there's a different intention, I think, in the room. I think once I've been to ones that are mostly male participants, there's a lot more ego, a little bit of bravado. Everyone's like trying to like outdo each other. Whereas when and it's just an observation, but when I go to these things and it's predominantly women, everyone's genuinely is very supportive. How have you done that? Like, tell me how you did it, because we're just trying to solve a problem. Yeah. We're not going, oh, I did this and it was the best way. I just need to solve my problem. And how did you do that? I want to learn. Yeah. So I really value those opportunities. Don't get me wrong, there's space for both. And it's nice to come together as a full code or a full organization and then take that. And it's really nice as well when everyone shares the learning and is open-minded. Yeah. I went to one in Auckland, a New Zealand rugby conference in Auckland at the end of May. And it was a women in rugby conference hosted by them. I think I was like one of two women that had come from Australia. I was like, you guys are very good at rugby. I'm going to learn everything I can from you unashamedly. I'm going to take this. What have you got? And like a third of the room was full of men. And I loved that. Yeah. I'm like, oh, the tide is turning. This is a women in rugby conference. And a third of the room is men in rugby going, we need to know how to help. We need to know how to help women get into rugby, injury prevention, recovery. We need to understand women's health better if we want to help the wider code and the system. Yeah. I thought, oh, that's really lovely too. Like, you're here connecting because you genuinely want to learn. Yeah. Tell us about that time and like you worked in Scotland, because I love how you take bits and pieces from everywhere. All over the place I am.
Yeah. Was that like your first big gig like over in Scotland?
Yeah, so I studied here in Brisbane. So I'm from Brisbane, and then I finished my degree and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go travel like everyone does. And then I ended up in Glasgow, and just as the 2008 financial crisis happened, and I trained as a PE teacher here. So I was like, yeah, perfect. I'll go over, I'll get a PE teaching job. Brilliant. Like, happy days. I'd just turned 21. I can tell you that's not how it played out.
Yeah.
I had I think at one point I had 5 part-time jobs because no one was retiring from teaching. No one was giving up their full-time jobs because of the crisis. Everyone was like holding on, like pensions were gone. It was just a very different landscape. I was 21. I was so naive. I was like, what do you mean they're not having to process that? I was like, oh, what have I done? What have I done? So I did a couple of years doing a bit of everything, and then I was very fortunate to land a gig with Glasgow Warriors, the pro team in Glasgow, owned by Scottish Rugby, working in the community department. And it was, working with kids 15 to 19 years who were not in education or training, who were looking for soft skills, employability skills, and using rugby as a vehicle to give them that. So headed up that program, and just
I'll have to pick
made
your brain about
myself
that a bit more.
made myself indisposable because I only had a 1-year contract. I was like, I need to lean into this. I want to be in this, and right place, right time.
Yeah.
There's a bit of that.
And did that start your pathway into sort of the roles that you would take up when you came back to Australia? Was it like, teaching, I'm done?
Well, I never had a day of teaching. So I graduated, went overseas, sat on a role to do like relief teaching in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Never got a day's work.
Right.
Obviously, I was a bit of an outsider too. So like, why are we giving this girl any
why
work
are we
here?
giving the Aussie a job where we can't?
Yeah.
Like-
She should be in a bar. Like,
Yeah.
I think being there, then just they went through a bit of a restructure. There was opportunity. Again, I was young and naive, and I just like leaned straight in. I look back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. But if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be where I am. So I was like, I can do that job. I can do operations. I can let me have a crack. And sure enough, they gave me a chance. I was there for about 7 years at Glasgow Warriors, like right at the peak of their career, like the peak of their success, which was amazing to be a part of. So good.
Yeah.
And then had an opportunity to go to Netball Scotland as COO for them just after the pandemic. So like I think 2020, it's all a blur, isn't it? 2021. And then we decided to come back to Brisbane at the end of 2022.
No way.
Yeah. So I went to Scotland with 15 kilos of luggage and came back with a husband, 3 kids, and a shipping container full of furniture.
A house, a puppy. Yeah.
15 years later, yeah. It was, I'm very fortunate to have had those roles.
Yeah. And was that always going to be, so coming back to Brisbane was always the goal? Was it? Or kind of? Or just coming back to an opportunity?
We had an opportunity to come back after the pandemic and after Brexit. Yeah. And the kids were at that age where I was like, if we don't try it now, will we ever try it? Because then you get stuck in that, you can't take him out of school and this, that, and the other. So we just thought, why not? Give it a go.
Yeah.
One of the greatest parts of Australia, Brisbane.
Bris Vegas.
We claim that. Bris Vegas. It's got a better ring to it. And so you land back in Australia, in Brisbane, into the role at Netball Queensland and Firebirds.
So I got a role with Netball Queensland. Kate and Mike took a chance on me, and I'd done all my interviews via Zoom, which bless them. They were doing like 5 p.m. and I was doing 7 a.m. calls because of the time difference. And they had a role for special projects, which was lovely. And Kate and Mike were brilliant to work for. And Kate was very clear that she's like, we don't really want to pigeonhole you because you've got so much
100%.
experience. And I was like, okay, great. And I said to them, I really want to keep learning. I really want to keep growing because I'm coming back and there's an opportunity here and I don't got to re-establish myself in the sporting landscape here. Very different to the Northern Hemisphere and to particularly Scotland. And so then I got given the special project of cybersecurity for Netball Queensland.
Let's go.
Not gonna lie to you, my IT skills are lacking. Do I have those skills in cybersecurity? Absolutely not. Did I learn? Very quickly. So it was a very different challenge, but I did ask for it. I asked for the growth and I asked for the learning. So that's what I got.
Yeah. So any tips? Any tips on cybersecurity? I need
Don't use the
have
same
a strong
password.
Yeah.
Don't use the same password for everything.
I don't. Wow. I will talk to you after, man.
Steph, I asked that sort of line of questioning because if you were to share with a younger Steph in terms of where you are today, in terms of your professional working life, like what advice would you give that younger 21-year-old Steph where you are now, like in terms of a word of encouragement or just, and for any other maybe 21-year-old who's listening or a young person who's just coming out of a teaching degree or any other degree.
Go to Scotland.
Go to Scotland.
Go to Scotland.
But what would you, just imagine yourself, like what would you tell that 21-year-old in terms of career path?
Yeah. And so there is a saying, and I'm not going to try and do it in the Scottish accent because that would be embarrassing. I know.
Really cool though.
I know my it's hard to tell with my really strong Glaswegian accent just now, but they say what's for you won't go by you. So what's for you won't go by you. And people said this to me when I was in Scotland and I just wasn't getting any traction and I was working crazy shifts and, you know, like finishing in the bar at 2 a.m. and then walking to teach swimming at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning and like, what's for you won't go by you, hen. And I'm like, oh gosh, that's really hard to hear. But it's so true. It's so true. what's meant for you won't go by you. And so it's making sure that you are open to those opportunities and just trusting that process and saying yes. Because actually, if you don't say yes, then you're closing doors before they open, right? So I think 10 years ago, Steph, as hard as that was to hear in my 20s, now I'm like, every time I come up to a challenging moment or a difficult crossroads, I'm like, okay, what's for you won't go by you. Everything happens for a reason. I think.
Bars,
man.
Yeah.
that is such
It's a bit
cool thing.
cliche, but it's so true. Like, it wouldn't be a cliche if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you add your own version to that. You know, like for example, where you are now as GM, and again, and this is probably a nice segue into about culture. Like, how do you go about establishing a culture at a club? Because you know you've landed at this amazing privilege and position to go, wow, everything that you've done has led you to this point. It's not the end, but it's led you to this point. Now you're in the seat of privilege and again, I've seen you operate in humility, going, hey, it's a title, it's a job, but while you're in it, how do you honor this seat? And so in this space, you've traveled around the world, seeing how different teams operate, different cultures, come back to Australia, still trying to adjust. How do you go about building culture, or good culture, if that's even a way to frame it, but just culture inside an organization?
Culture's so hard. It's such a hard thing. And I don't think I've been overly intentional about it either, which is probably not the answer everyone wants to hear. I've worked with a lot of really great folk throughout my career so far, and I'm that's not lost on me. I've been in the inner circle of some great teams and some great clubs, and I've seen what great looks like, right? That's why they get to the point where they can perform week on week and they can build such strong connection to then allow them to take the next step. And for me, it was just living your words and your actions and leading by example. That's what I can boil it down to. So, for example, like when I was in Glasgow, the head coach at the time, Gregor Townsend, everyone had to shake hands in the morning when they came in. You had to look someone in the eye and shake hands, and it was a non-negotiable. So every morning, Gregor would walk around the commercial office, the engine room, all the players, and would shake. It must have been like 70 different people every morning. Look in the eye, morning, how are you? Like every morning without fail. And whilst at the start, you're like, oh, he's been on a course. Here he is. He's been on a course. We're shaking hands with everyone. They still do it. They still do it. He's not there, but the clubs still do that. So for me, seeing, and then when obviously like Dave Rennie came in as head coach in Glasgow too, like he had his own spin on how to build culture and building the family connection, and it was just so strong and powerful. But it's not something that you have to ram down people's throats either. There was a lot of authenticity in what everyone was doing. And so for me, establishing culture isn't coming in and banging a drum and saying, this is how we do it. It's absolutely not like that. It's just making sure that I'm doing the right thing as an individual and as a person, and being transparent, being reliable, being accountable for my work, so that transfers and people can see it. And if they see it, they go, oh, that's the standard. That's what we're trying to aim for. That's what we're doing here. And it's also listening and respecting other people too, so that they feel a part of what you're trying to do. So I don't think there's anything overly intentional about it. And I probably could have given it more thought around how am I going to change culture there. But there is a strong culture at Sunnybank already. It's just making sure that we're improving our standards around that culture and being a bit more accountable. And actually, we're not far off the mark.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think one of the resonate heaps with that. I use that word all the time, but especially on this podcast. But things like everything. But that is one thing that we've actually implemented in the coaching. As soon as I stopped ramming things or started especially with our Colts boys last year, it's such a hard space. You're dealing with a lot of testosterone, a lot of egos. Our boys, they won't say it. Well, now they would, because I've been able to break down barriers. But getting them into the gym, on a Tuesday night, Thursday night, would have 30, 40 athletes. And and a core bunch of those boys are our Colts 1 boys, which has been massive. Even just from the little successes that they've had just individually, but also most as a team. But as soon as I started finding out who they are, what they're doing, acknowledging them and stuff, and actually knowing that I actually had a genuine care and I was kind about it, still I'm still very tough on the field, but like, you know, like those standards.
Yeah.
You know, like really those standards, like boys will come into the gym. If they didn't have their shoes on, I don't care who you are. You're not in the gym. And everyone knows me now in the Sunnybank gym. If I come at night, I was like, why are you in the gym? And I'll look at all our team. I was like, because that was the rules that we set, the standard. If we set standards, we have to live by them. That's one part. You know, if you don't have shoes, you're outside. But it's not, I give them an option. I was like, well, you got penalties on the ski yoke, rower. You know, you forgot something, but you're still going to get your work done. Or you can just work out in the corner. you know, take the gym over there. But
in the dark.
You just can't be in the gym.
Yeah.
I can say he's like very struggling. And I was actually, the boys would ask me, I'm very smart. I have 7 pairs of shoes in my car. you know, I'm trying to guide these athletes, these young men to be better men. So they're like, Pete, do you have any spare shoes? I was like, I do. But at least they're asking, they actually acknowledge that, those standards. Because we never used to have it. Like, I'm going to say for anything, but for our Colts boys, that was one of my things. If the water bottle was out, now, like, we walk in, if the water bottle's on the ground, the boys are like, they used to just, like, point at each other. Now they just pick it up, put it away.
Yeah.
It's just a standard. It's like, oh, yeah, crap, the water bottles. Boys, the water bottles.
I think as well, for me, when you make a mistake, because I've made so many mistakes, still do, every day. Owning them. Owning them. Like, I'm only human. Everyone is human, and just giving folk grace to make those mistakes as long as they can go, right, I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to be better. Be better for it next time. Because if you don't own it, then I think that's when bad culture can seep in, because then you end up in a blame game. And then you end up with folk looking at windows rather than mirrors. You shouldn't be looking in mirrors all the time. You need a balance of the both. But if you're not owning your mistakes, then you're not learning at all, and no one around you is either.
Yeah, that is. What would you say? Don't look at windows or mirrors.
Because if you're looking at windows all the time, you're looking at it to see what everyone else does or doesn't do. You're not focusing on you, because you can only controlling your controllables, right? You can control you.
Yeah.
If you're looking in a mirror and you go, "Oh, I can do better there," But if you're looking out windows all the time,
nice.
When do I get my gold star? How good!
Gold standard. That is. What's that? K-pop. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, I'm on a hiatus.
Sorry.
Our household's on a hiatus.
Yeah.
We had to self-imposed.
Oh my days.
Too much.
Let's not bust in the song Soda Pop.
No,
sorry.
What?
Can you intro that to the?
Yeah.
What has been your greatest joy in the role that you're in at the moment? Like, what has been something that you just go, that is the coolest thing, and to be a part of and to contribute to?
Oh gosh, I don't know. In this current role, I've only been with Sunnybank for a year.
Yep.
I'm very lucky that I've landed in a club where the people are so brilliant. The people are amazing, second to none. So good. And I just feel like that's very rare. That doesn't happen all the time. And so to be able to land already somewhere where the foundation of people is so good, to then be able to then build other wee things from that is really powerful. But I don't think I can pinpoint it to one specific thing in my role. For me, the reason I do my job is to make sure that folk can play the game that they enjoy at whatever level, whether that's the under sixes, whether that's prem men, prem women. So we had, and it's just a small thing, like last week we had a free come and try session for girls so that they can play rugby with girls. We had
awesome.
35 girls register. And that's the week before the Women's World Cup starts in England, which for me, I was like, that's amazing. We've got 30 girls that want to play rugby just with girls. So for me, that's a small thing, but those types of things every week where you get those really tiny wins, to someone else like, oh yeah, whatever, you had 30 girls turn up. That's huge.
That's a lot of girls.
That's a lot of girls between 6 and 12 years, right? Who have never picked up a rugby ball potentially for the first time. So just those types of things I think are really what I'm proud of, and allowing everyone else to be able to do their job to their best to service the club.
Yeah.
What are some of the innovative things that you felt like you've been able to bring from like your previous roles into Sunnybank? Like some of the things that you've...
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot.
Have you? Maybe you should tell me, because it's very hard to think of. It's like someone goes, what have you done? You're like, what have I done?
A lot. Like, especially connecting the dots. Like, with you, again, you've had brilliant people as foundation, but I think what you've done well is like, oh, you do that. But like, say Ray and I here, oh, is that what you do? Oh, that's what I do. Let's start business. And then we come back to like Sunnybank, and then we provide, maybe sponsorship or something, or like those type of real connectors. Like, I think you've been really innovative in that space for us at Sunnybank. And also innovative in my own professional development as well. Like, just some of the things that with some conversations, you probably don't remember, you have heaps, but for the ones that I've had with you, it's been very like, it's always intentional, it's always deliberate, and it's always like, I've always walked out of a meeting with Steph knowing very clear, very concise, a lot of clarity or what I have to do. All right, there's no like gray area. It's like, all right, I know exactly what I need, and that's what I need as a professional, for the club, because you have heaps. Sorry.
No, I think what I've done is just been able to bring all my learned experiences from that professional environment, whether that be netball or rugby, just to establish the real expectation around our processes and systems, which sounds really boring. It's a real governance thing, but
I love it.
Getting them right, because if you get them right, then it just happens, right? The cogs just keep turning. Everyone knows what's expected of them. And so like the other week we were ordering grand final t-shirts. We've got 4th and 5th grade in the finals this weekend, which is very exciting.
Well done.
Full disclosure,
Sunnybank.
I did not know grand final t-shirts were a thing here in Brisbane until the first weekend of finals. And I went, oh, I've absolutely dropped the ball here. We have not got grand final t-shirts. So we have hustled, and we now have grand final t-shirts coming. And so I was talking to Kathy, who's our admin officer, and she was like, yeah, we've got to get these ordered. Da, da, da. I was like, right, we'll get them on the website. And then I went, hang on a minute. This time last year, we didn't have our new website, which was not my doing. That was predecessors before me. Thank you to them. But we didn't have a website. We didn't have a website with a shop, an online shop. And it sounds really simple. But now we have an online shop with all of our merchandise on it. We can pop everything on it. And it's those automations behind the scenes, which then allow us to focus on the right things rather than the manual things at the back end going, here's another spreadsheet, and this is what have they paid us? Have they not paid us?
Who's going to package that? Steph, can you package the order 356, please?
100%. Like, are we taking their card payment? Are they coming? Are they paying cash? Like, we're just removing, and it sounds really basic, but for a community club, this is the evolution, right? So bringing in those practices of what good looks like in that business side of a sporting organisation into the community, so that we can then focus on the product, which is rugby and that connection and
well, I have bought a lot of merchandise, and every time like, can I get that? She's like, you know what to do. I was like, I do.
He's like a walking click and collect, please.
Yeah. And I go to Kathy. I'm like, I'm here to get my stuff, Peter. I'm right next to you. I was like, I know. I just need to go through the process.
Yeah. Well, I do want to shift gears.
Also, that's cybersecurity for you. There we go.
There
we go.
Hey, actually, you put it into
bringing it all together. I love that.
Well done. Well done.
Bye, man.
I don't want to shy away from asking not the opposite question, but the reverse. Like, that's the joy and that's the triumphs of your role. What has been challenges in your role? And again, I'm speaking especially for both you and Pete as well. Like, this year at the club has been very challenging for all sorts of reasons, a few in particular. But as someone in your position, what has that looked like for you in that challenge space?
It's been a year at Sunnybank, and it has been really challenging, but for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. And I think for me, there's been periods of time where I've really had to check myself and go, you need to find the balance here, because it can consume you, because you are dealing with people. It's not transactional, it's relational. So then you're having to put some boundaries in and say, right, this is how I can help, and this is how I can serve at this moment in time, or actually I can't at this moment. And if I can't, then what does that look like? So I think the challenges for me within the year is just trying to learn. You don't know what you don't know. And when you come into a very established club, I'm still unearthing a few things. I'm like, oh, that's a thing. No problem. That's fine. We'll take it and go. But really finding that balance and sharing my time across the juniors and the seniors and the people. And we have such a big volunteer workforce. So making sure they're getting what they need. Trying to be a bit of Switzerland, like everything to everyone all at the same time. which is not possible all the time.
I'm going to steal that as well. Just
Yeah.
Switzerland. No,
Switzerland.
a bit of Switzerland.
So it's been challenging, but I know that it's for the right reasons, right? Because you're serving the club and you're serving the people and you're doing the right thing by everyone so that they have something positive in their life, which is important.
And I think that is important because it's you can't be everything to everyone, but sometimes in a position that you sit, you kind of have to be everything to everyone. Like there's a sense of responsibility. We've spoken about that in the past, but then there's also a mindful of the sense of burnout too. Do you have, like, how do you go about not balancing? Because in previous episodes we've talked about it's not really a balancing act, but how do you go about navigating your way through work, burnout, responsibilities, family? Like, are there things in your practice that you do to sort of keep you a bit pointed towards north?
Yeah, but probably everyone could do more of it, right? A bit more self-care and a bit more boundary. And I try really hard to make sure that when I'm with the kids, the phone's away. And even if that is just an hour of like undisrupted parenting, whether that's good or bad in that hour, I don't know.
Yeah.
They can be the judge of that. But yeah,
Full
like
disclosure, guys, we are not.
Ask them. Yeah, just trying to find that balance of like, no, I'm with the kids. This is what I'm doing. I can't be here. This is where I am. But actually, if I've done my job properly, I don't actually physically need to be there for that bit. I can step away. I try to carve out some time where I'm like, don't get me wrong, the occasional binging of a Netflix show doesn't go astray every now and again, and I wonder why I'm so tired the next day. I'm like, oh, because I watched 4 episodes last night. That's why. But I do try to give myself the simple pleasures, whether that's stopping for a coffee and taking 5 minutes, even
Shout out
just
to Lumbr.
Lumbr's my local.
Yeah, your local.
And they said, can you come to Lumbr? All right, okay, I can come back again today, no problem. But yeah, stopping for a coffee, making sure that I'm just taking 5 minutes to breathe. Sounds really daft, but otherwise it just is a bit much, really. Yeah, so I'd love to say that I have time to go take myself for a walk and do all the things and go to the gym, and I don't have time for that. I've got 3 small kids.
Yeah.
Like, no.
It will come.
It will come.
You'll come.
It will come. I am not wishing this time away, but at the same time, I know that will come as and when.
It's really, I think it's really, for me, it's finding the meaningful moment. I'm using a lot of M words here. The meaningful moments in the mundane. Can I say that again? It's finding the meaningful moments.
Funny you say that. Remember last week Ray had a really disrupted week, and we actually had reflection on Friday.
Yeah.
I was like, how's your week? He's like, it's been a blur, but I think it's because Monday was so sporadic. Like, it was not your traditional week.
Yeah, it wasn't my traditional week. It threw me out a bit, and I catch myself going, what was something today that I could really just sit in before the end of the day and go, that was meaningful for me. Having chat with Pete and even Tommy, who owns this amazing cafe and the media company as well, and just saying, that was real cool.
Yeah.
I actually cherished that. It wasn't just, let me just get through the podcast and our conversation so I can get on with the next task. So it was actually staying present. And it's not about, I need to be present in the moment, be zoned into this, but it's just, what was something that could have been easily been a mundane task, but I went, you know what? That was really meaningful. I took a sip on this amazing coffee and just went, that was cool.
Yeah. I think that's so lovely to be able to take those moments to reflect. And what I've been doing with my kids the last few months is when we sit down to dinner, I'm very big on, we all sit at the table at dinner time.
Yep.
Phones away, TV off. Like, we are, you're not going to enjoy this, but I am. And this is what we're doing, because you'll look back on this. And now we go around and go, what was the best part of your day?
Yep.
And so the kids are now intentionally sitting there going, oh, the best part of my day was obviously playing soccer at lunchtime, or, doing whatever it is at kindy, or having it. And so now the kids are getting into that habit too. And so I forgot to do it the other day. And my wee one said to me, Mum, what was your best part of the day? And I went, I forgot to say. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Which is nice to have that moment to reflect and go, yeah, actually, it's not all doom and gloom or too hurried.
Like that's such a simple.
So simple.
And I thought we were the only ones doing it, like weird ones. Like my wife, like Em.
Yeah.
That's her only request at night from me is like, can we sit down as a family to have dinner?
Yes.
And she prays. Like, she's not now. She's like kind of like faith based, because of like our background, my family's background.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like adopted, or it's getting embedded in her. So she's always had belief, but it's been really nice. She'll pray, but now the praying is actually my middle child, Samson. We won't eat unless he prays. He's like, oh, well, why is everyone eating? Pray. And everyone's holding hands. Yeah, so it's so simple, but yeah, like I didn't think until you just mentioned then, like the actual, because, everything's happening so fast.
I love that symbolism of everyone sitting around the table, breaking bread, switching off from the noise, and just like, don't get me wrong, it's chaotic.
Yeah.
They're young.
Yeah.
In my head, it's a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
Where it's all roses, everyone's getting along, they're passing the cutlery to each other nicely. It's not, it's chaos. But for at least 2 minutes of that, it's nice.
Yeah. We as a family, we do exactly the same. But then there are other moments where we've just adapted and pivot. So it's rare that we all sit in front of a TV, but we do it, but we watch a favorite show that we engaged in together. So we're watching a TV, and then we're having a meal, and then we're just enjoying each other's company, and we're having conversation. Oh, this happened. And so at the moment, we're watching The Block.
Nice.
So my kids.
Yeah, how good.
I just watch it purely for the comedy. I'm just like, as if you do that. And, I get side eyes from my kids like, Dad, no, because they want to build this and this. I was like, okay. And then I'm asking questions and like, did you not watch the episode? I'm like, well, kind of not. I was just eating my meal. Like, so it's again, taking those moments, even though it can be, I guess it's anti-culture in the sense that sitting around, having a meal, like undistracted, just catching up. But it's taking those moments that could be kind of, I wouldn't even say boring, like intentional, and making it contextualized with your own family and going, how do we make it special?
Yes.
How do we take something that's often deemed as, oh, okay, here we go again. And actually, well, let's find something meaningful from this. I think that's super special. And I think the more we can practice that, and we talk about legacy piece for our kids, right? Like we all spoke off air and like, oh man, what has this society come to? And this is not a rain down a parade on this current society, but as parents, like how do you both operate in a way where you want to be the best role model for your kids, and you want to teach them all the values and help them guide and coach them through the lived experiences? How do you go about that?
I am now the calm in the storm whenever I walk into the house. So like, Emma's got the kids full time,
So
not full time.
Chaos. I'm so tired for her just hearing that.
Not all like, but when I do come, I have to be present.
Yeah.
But I have to be the calm. And I think that's one part. I think that's one way that you can establish roles or whatever. Like I'm actually quite, I was the bad cop for a bit. But now I'm just like, not even the good cop. I'm just the guy that I'm like, okay, I'm the yes dad.
Okay.
Not yes in the sense, but whatever Emma asked for, I'm that. But I was like, yep, I can do that. I don't say no, I can't do that, or because if you did, here's a jandal later. I'm ducking. I do that, but the calm. I think that's one thing you have to. And whatever your situation is, or with family, like for what we've done, and it's actually worked. Like my relationships with my children are, even though they're young, but they come to me for things now, which is nice. Mm-hmm. They don't just go to mom, where before it should be just mom. And then I've actually realized that. Obviously, we're talking about parenting now, but yeah, the big one is, and it was a simple conversation. Emma's come to me and said, I need this. I'm like, all right, I can be that. And it's very hard because you know how hard it is when you're trying to get a point across and you're having an argument with a 5-year-old. You're like, am I really having this debate? Am I really having it? And then
it's
I'm like,
it's worse when they school you in it and you're like, okay.
And then you're trying to do that, and then you go corporate world and you're like, I'm talking to this guy that's got way more experience than you, and I'm yet having this debate whether or not to give you a lollipop. No, why, Dad? Because but you told me yesterday that I could have it. Legit,
Oh.
this was a conversation I had yesterday about Zappos. Sorry.
We need a sponsor on Zappos. We want your sponsorship.
But Dad, you told me I've been like, 'cause Sammy's like, he's articulating his words so much by pronouncing them. He's like, but Dad, I didn't eat them on Saturday. This was Sunday. I didn't eat them on Saturday. So that you said I could have it tonight or like this afternoon, and I was like, I did. I was like, got to pivot here. I've got to pivot. I was like, can't give you sugar before after 6 p.m. Anyways, pivoted. Phew. But yeah, they do keep you very, very. Again, he comes to me now, which is really nice. Like I'm very, very blessed that my relationship with my children now it's getting better.
Yeah.
Even Freddie, like he's a 10-week, and I'm like one of the only 2 people, because Emma's the main one that can actually like calm him down and he like settle him. So it's nice. And all I've done is change my approach. I'm very calm.
I just try to be stable. So am I calm all the time? Absolutely not. Absolutely not calm all the time. But I try to be stable for the kids. So just they know this is what needs to happen in the morning. So even if it's like we don't have anything to get to, you have your breakfast, you get changed for the day. That's just what we do. You're not hanging around in your pajamas all day. Get dressed for the day. Even if we're staying in the house. Making sure that they're very clear on what I can do and what I can't do. Actually, something's happened at work. Mummy needs to be on her phone for a little bit. So can you go and do X, Y, and Z? And just really, I think, calling out what's happening for them so that they can manage what's coming to find that balance, I think, because otherwise it's chaos, as everyone knows. But I find if you're pretty stable and consistent with what I'm saying to them, it helps a little bit. But also I read a book a few years ago. It was called Slow, and it was just about as a society slowing down.
Yeah.
I can't remember who wrote it. I found it in like a little bookshop when I was in America, and I was like, oh, this will be fun. And it was just so profound because I was like, oh my gosh, we actually just need to slow down.
Yeah.
We just need to slow down.
Yeah.
Go back to basics. So like I take joy in hanging my washing on the clothesline, like basic stuff. Because I'm like, okay, here we go. I can just take 2 seconds to switch off.
Yeah.
The kids see me do it.
Yeah.
The kids see me managing their expectations, and I'm hopeful that transfers for them at some point so they can be like, okay, I can articulate what I need in that moment.
Isn't it funny that parenting is very similar, if not identical, to leadership? Like some of the things you've just said.
What you did, I was like, managing, I need to do this. You can do this, this, and this.
I need to be stable for you to be able to manage what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's that's very profound, and I think hence why you're such a great leader. I think you're and still are becoming a great leader.
Learning, always learning.
Always learning.
Always
Steph,
learning.
if there is,
back that. I can back it.
that's right. I don't know if you have a final question, but my final question for us is, what is something that you wish people could know about leadership? Is if there was a statement or a thought, or even a story that people should know about leadership, what would that be?
I think there's 2 things. You can have everything, but not at the same time. So you might be doing really well at work. You might not be doing as well at home. You've got to find that balance every day and every week. It's not one or the other all the time. And I think the other thing is you're never going to get it right all the time. Yeah, leadership is being able to take those wins when you've got them, but also acknowledge when you're not necessarily getting the wins or you've made the mistakes, because that's how you're going to become a better leader. And also just going, I've missed this. I made a mistake. I should have done this. I can't change it. But what can I do to get better? And I think as a leader in any part of life, whether that's on the field or in the boardroom or just in your own business or wherever, I think if you can't acknowledge your mistakes, then you're not going to grow, and then you're not going to be able to lead to your potential. So I think that's, for me, what I kind of ring true is it's okay. In the moment, it's hard, but it's okay to have made that mistake because you're learning, always learning.
You had me at number 1, 2 at 2 things. I was like, oh, dang.
So sorry.
Yeah. I was like, that's bars. And I think that, I came back and I said this stuff's like shared with Steph. Not said it. I shared it. It's been awesome under your leadership.
Oh, thank you.
And I wear a lot of hats, right? And one of the hats I get very privileged to wear is under the guidance of Steph. And as I said, she's big boss Steph. I'm like, I gotta call you now. No, you don't want me to go? All right, I won't.
Just doing my job, guys. Just doing my
Yeah.
job.
And I think you're doing it really well, exceptionally
you.
well. And I think that reassurance is that just if you ever need any reassurance, come talk to
My hype team.
your hype team. We'll hype you up. Yeah, and that's all we're here for. Like,
The hype squad.
but it's been awesome. I think
Right.
the direction that the club's going, and one of the big ones, and we know we didn't touch on, but the innovation of the director of rugby being implemented into Sunny McRugby. I think it's a massive move in the right direction again, or not even in the right move. It's been
A direction.
direction. Yeah, it's
good
actually really added. So
Yeah.
Foresight.
yeah, foresight,
Having the
Foresight,
insight, oversight,
Foresight.
Then
Yeah. Well, listen, no one can do it without an amazing team around them. And I'm just very privileged to have a great group of folk at Sunnybank and supportive people like you guys to be able to do my job and hopefully do my job well. So it's not just me, it's the club.
that's reciprocated. Trust me. Yeah, not good. Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Steph. It's been
having
an
me.
absolute pleasure and joy and honor to have you share some amazing gems I've learned. I need to rewatch this again and write some notes because there was some amazing quotes. And even that oversight, insight, foresight.
That was not mine, but we'll take it.
No,
Yeah,
I'm just
it's
going to
okay,
quote
but
Steph.
something
Steal it
Because
with
I
pride.
was-
Steal it with pride.
yeah.
But thanks again for joining us for the Foreground Podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you join us. And we look forward to the next coming episodes. This is episode 5. And I think this could be a 10-part series. But if not, we're just going to keep going until someone says to stop. Hopefully not. But see you next episode. Thank you.
Vanaka.